Hello, this is James Love with Rise Star Church, Evening Out the World in Love. The name of this one is Picture Perfect Relationship. This is one I wanted to make it really clear and such, uh, especially since we've just gone over the constitutional writ, the uh, so many things about righteousness, really what it is, and this is the funny thing that some organizations or some people would call what I do is, or some of the things I talk about or state in there, they're ready to jump out and judge like all they want and, condemn, oh, this scripture is opposite of that. And, usually it's some technique anyway of trolling or trying to stop somebody from helping people be free when they profit otherwise. But the, the, the aspect is the there is a there's righteous aspects. There's uh, all things are lawful according to God, according to us. Uh, all things aren't profitable, as Paul puts it so clearly. Um, but you know, in that fashion, that would mean like there's righteous. Well, actually, that's the biggest thing that for a while I dealt with, and I think I've taken care of it in society, is these people going around like, where's God at? Where's he at? And they're like, oh, all this destruction and this and that, and I'm like sitting there going, there he is. I mean, it's judgment. We're causing it on ourselves. We do this stuff to these people, we get scasms that come out and bite us there. It's just it's how it works. And the the so there's different ways that we can uh, you know I've said it before. I think it's really sweet a revelation that God gave me, and that's the example that I get from Christ and the revelation that He gave me, that we were called servants. We were called basically worms before that. Then we were called servants, and then we were called brother and sister by Christ. And then now it's kind of like a time like working our way back to the Garden of Eden. Uh, we're we're fulfilling our own laws and such. That we're now being called managers. Now we can manage His creation since we're starting to understand all the aspects of how the Holy Spirit works all the schisms together if they must be there for the revelation times so the healing and can can proceed and the pain and problem disappear or the well is created where the benefits only remain and such. It's how it all comes through. Well, I wanted to make it very clear, especially how I would refer to the sin offering, unconditional offering page, and you can just see that actual segment that I did there. And it was kind of somebody I had to put it in a format that, okay, well, this is what we believe as church, that you know that with all the messed up relationships, well, there needs to be open relationships. Sometimes people need dipping. So, sometimes they have to figure out what they don't like before they find out what they do like. And there's a process sometimes. Um, and it's funny because it's almost like I have to put certain things, especially when we're talking about righteousness, uh, that I have to put it in an explanation why it's righteousness. Well, here's my kind of rebuttal back, in a way you could say, because there's this. I gotta divide the churches again, because I've already expressed the shadow, and the different thing how the threshing floor goes, and how the old Masonic tricks of the, you know, to project the evil and you know, have some locusts involved so they can scare the people through burning tests and stuff, or just scare them into the moral institution church, you know. And then the the other ones that just don't, we'll just set them up with the head candlestick and put them in our cell for our profit, you know, type of deal. But you know, God controls better. We don't need idols. So you know, in this day and age, here we go. Education is the new hustle and such. So the the I'd like to talk about the righteous uh, becoming unrighteous for a second, because it's kind of funny because you know, and at no time when I was talking about relationships, and yes, all relationships are allowed at the well. Um, there's one that is based on unconditional love, truth, and that we obviously want with the children that are according to any kind of degree at the well, for any reason at the well. Obviously, we want them molded in the same fashion. Um, and then there's, you know, the other ones that, you know, seems to be a lot of lying, cheat, and stealing, or covering up that they're stealing, or it even exists, so they can use it behind our back of a coupling economy and a candlestick justice game reserve such thing going on. But you know, this this deal is is progressing, and God has his purpose for it all. Um, and what had happened was there was this picture perfect relationship. I'm going to kind of go over it a little bit about how how it was expressed in Rise Star Church's constitutional writ, you know. Let me give it. Oh, here's this beautiful couple and this beautiful family. They're so so tested according to the organization. You know, they got together, and you know they were you know, high school sweethearts, you know, football hero, and she was a cheerleader, and who, and they, you know, got together and they were part of this great church, and then they went through the 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 motion. They got married at 21, 22, 23. Oh, and if you ask them, they'll tell you they didn't have sex until they were married. And then he procreated, and there's now they have these two girls and two boys. They both worked at this factory and this sort of job for like 40 years. They're about to retire, you know, and their kids are just well educated. They want to go and do this in college. They're becoming very successful. This is what I call the picture perfect relationship. You can narrow down to economic reasons for that deal. You can narrow down to the actual relationship. You can narrow down to how concerning sex. Whatever you want to narrow it down to. This, according to Scripture, was exactly what we were supposed to do. Like I expressed on the sin offering page, that it's few and far between. It's almost like Egypt, you know. They didn't like these ones, and I think God, I know God does the same thing when man thinks that he knows what's best, and he doesn't acquire for reason and use and revelation from God of how to manage better. The good manager we are, and so what he'll do is, you know, they were oppressing the Egyptians. So what did they do? They just multiplied. It's kind of like the same thing with the relationships. The picture perfect relationship is far and few between. They're so rare. And they're so rare. Um, the ones are promoted, and all the rest around it are sitting there going, oh, yeah. But they're not going to talk about theirs because it wasn't anything like that. And, you know, there's all these different things, and I even talk to some people and they tell me about theirs, and they're like, it's almost like they're judging themselves when they're telling me, and they're like, oh yeah, we didn't do it. You know, some of my disciplings, you know, that's perfect according to God. You promote ones like yours happened, and now the testimony that was a true fruit of how something was turned completely. You know what I mean? There, so here is the division that I'm talking about. And this is the same ones that would judge Rise Star Church according to a freedom well. But of course, they would be still also the same ones that are dictating and determining and controlling relationships. And there is no freedom of relationships, especially near their congregation. Not like Rise Star Church's freedom well of relations, that is, for sure. And so the uh, picture perfect relationship, even in my congregation, maybe they meet and look, they make love, and it was park or something, and it was they got married then, and it was oh wow, and it was they reached a certain age. It was really beautiful. And there's going to be other churches that are closer to Rise Star Church, in the righteousness format, you could say, or um, eventually there's going to be the authorized. It still isn't one. There's no face or voice yet. So I teach this way then too. Uh, so there's going to be that beautiful story that still exists as a beautiful example in Scripture. We all fall short of the glory of God. Paul had his thorn. Some others might have. And after all, that if it exists, that's going to be fruit of the Spirit on some knowledge of truth about how things can be a little bit off of the picture perfect, but still turn into something beautiful because it's love after all. And so those are going to be good. Um, but there is the picture perfect. And if that other exists, righteousness exists, if it truly exists for those in doubt, then guess what else exists? It's something that was perfect, just like that picture perfect relationship, that is downright sickening and wrong. And that's exactly that's where the division is going to be created, because there's those churches that have that picture perfect and as a great example to promote this beautiful picture perfect relationship according to scripture, how it goes. But then there's that other church over here, and they're kind of more implied to the judgment aspect of the locusts and the threshing floor. They arrange the funnel of trial and tribulation and scare into their church thing. The little the faith conditioning thing I expressed. Um, they work out that, and then they have that picture perfect relationship, and that one is nasty and ugly and wrong. And let me tell you why, because that's the only, they promote that one to condemn the rest. They just made something beautiful, holy, according to scripture, completely satanic, sixth hour, and wrong, because they use that relationship to condemn the rest. So, however, which way God would have you, according to the scripture, doing those loving relationships, being or whatever, Uh, just know for a fact we are in a righteous time format, and the problem wasn't that all relationships weren't this picture perfect, exact duplicate relationship. That was the problem was that there wasn't a beautiful story of love and how things could happen even in interesting formats in all the other formats. It's exactly like I talk about how Elvis Presley was satanic music once. And now rock and roll, heavy metal, country, rap is Christian music now. He's just gathering it back and taking back what it's his creation after all. And it's God's creation. And every relationship, especially if it's about love and helping one another, is from God. You don't have to have a narrow view of picture perfect. And especially if you strive for, which is okay, you can't condemn the rest or you destroy it. God bless and have the relationship free, according to Rise Star Charts.